What is going on, guys and gals, of course? Gemworks here, coming at you with a brand new sculpt. Hailing from Metroid Prime Hunters, we're going to be sculpting Trace. He's a member of the Kriken race, a imperialistic alien group that seeks to conquer planets. So talk about a pleasant guy. Now, let's get to work. Alright, so I'm sure that you could see that there were just mostly pointed, stretchy shapes that constitute most of Trace's body. So here for the head, you can see that we just took a sphere and made a teardrop-like shape. And then we took a sphere to cut the hole and make the eye. Of course, we're going to be using spheres and using the drag tool to cut out the two dominant points above his shoulders. And after extracting a couple more points, we'll use a couple of cut, stacked spheres to make the spine. Here, we're going to be making the legs. Super spindly. And even though he's a freaky alien, get this guy a sandwich. Again, using the drag tool above the hips to draw out those spines. And you're going to see that that's the name of the game here to begin with. It's going to be mostly spheres that are either stretched or squashed. And then we're going to use the drag tool to extract some of those points, as well as a series of creases and flattenings to further emphasize some of those hard angles. Now to begin making the arms, we're just taking a couple of spheres and flattening them. And you'll see for a lot of models, not just on aliens, but on anything really, layering goes a long way. So when it comes to, let's say, tech, if you're making a mechanical model, it's called greeble, right? Where you just add these complicated, random, like electric textures to make it look more complicated than it is. For organic parts, this is mostly done through a series of stacks. You'll have more creases, flattens, and push and pulls, and that gives the model some depth. So you'll see here, after refining a lot of the features and adding those bumps and extruded edges, we have Trace's base model completed. As you can tell, this definitely leans on the more simpler side. Don't be fooled, just because it's an alien and you see a lot of shapes, that does not mean that it's complicated. The shapes here are super easy to read, and that was part of the appeal for why I began working on this guy in the first place. And as you just saw, we demonstrated that the rig is all good to go, so it's time to begin some posing. I definitely wanted to set him in an action pose, make it look like he's ready to leap into battle.
Hello there.
An easy way to do that is to just think of Spider-Man. Obviously, everyone knows Spider-Man. That guy is doing dynamic poses 24/7. Make sure the limbs are moving in different directions to drive visual intrigue. And let's make sure to center him. With the majority of the posing out of the way, it's time to construct the base. Given that Trace dwells on a land that seems to be devoid of a lot of vegetation, I took some inspiration from rocks that you might find on Mars, maybe a little Grand Canyon action here and there, and I set that as the primary source for his support. This guy has very narrow legs, and as you might be aware, this doesn't lend itself very well to its own internal support for 3D printing, so I wanted to have him rest on the rocks, looking like he's coming down for an assault. Last but certainly not least, we're going to engage in some painting just to prep the model for a presentation. As you could also see from the reference image, which I believe is right from Metroid Prime Hunters, the majority of his body's red. I mean, it's all red, really, but it's just various shades of red. So I used a red paint across the board, right? Full wave of red. And then I'm using different shades, so you could see that I used a more maroonish color to draw out some of the deeper textures. And I just scatter that around places where I think that there would be shadows that would be cast. So after adding the highlights, I'm just using a ton of brown to give the rocks a primary coat. Again, super easy, all the same colors. Where everything comes to life is by adding shadows. Don't rely exclusively on your light source to give the shadows and highlights. Paint them in yourself. You could see here that even with just some light coating, and it adds so much depth. It really is just a wonderful gift to be able to do that. I set the ground to a reddish brown, just like the surface of Mars, and after some refinement, here's the finished model. Alright everybody, so what are your thoughts? To complete this render and really finish the piece, I added a couple of clever light tricks to bring out some of the red and orange highlights while also deepening some of the darker shadows. Naturally, we know our color wheels, so red and blue work really well together, and the yellow is what drives it home. This guy was super fun to make, really happy with the pose. I think that it's gonna be a fantastic piece to eventually print. And rest assured, for all curious, I'm gonna be doing all of the hunters in due time. Thanks again for watching this video, really appreciate the commitment here. Please make sure to leave your thoughts in the comments below and subscribe for more, and I'll get back to you with some more content soon. Thank you.